The vaccine is the greatest crisis in the world. The fact that not everyone's getting it. It's such a great crisis that our dear leader can bow to his corporate donors and wait to mandate this thing for 2 more months. So we will talk about that and quite a bit about that. The Rittenhouse trial continues. There's not a lot of fireworks here, folks. For the most part, the prosecution is doing the defense's job, but we'll talk a bit about some of the highlights that came out of yesterday. In other news, it appears that there were some shenanigans in the New Jersey election and some of the stuff that we saw, and possibly some shenanigans in the Virginia election too. We will stretch the limits of what we can say on YouTube, so stick around for that. That's going to be a good time as we talk about that. And the Supreme Court will be looking over a law that possibly could expand Second Amendment rights across the country. It's going to be all this and more, plus live chat, by the way, so get your messages in. Make sure if you're lurking, you get one last message in, so I can give you a thank you at the end of the show here. And I've got the names of everybody written down who chatted throughout the throughout the week, including the detractors, including the one that we had yesterday who doesn't like right-wingers, but hey, everybody's welcome here as long as they don't dox anybody. So, you know, let them run their mouths. And if they need to be setting the time out for a little bit, that's what you guys are here for. Other than that, it's going to be all this and more. And let's go, Brandon. I'm Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Good morning, Ed Heads. Welcome to Contemporary. My name is Jay Edgar, and it is another full news day today. I don't think we're going to get through everything again, but I do have some highlighted that I do want to make sure that we get to as we go off of this. So definitely pay attention. We've got to get through. We've got to focus on what's going on here. I've got to make sure that I've actually got articles for finance here, because I just realized that I don't, so we'll throw one up here. It's been that kind of a disorganized day. I overslept. That was on me, but I also had a ton of articles sitting out here to organize, and I didn't actually write down everybody's names until just now here, because some jackass, might have been me, didn't do it last night like he usually does. But we're going to get through it all. We're going to go through this. We're going to power through everything here over on Contemporary. So thanks everybody for coming by, checking us out and chatting. And I already see that my friend Seawall has loaded up his authoritarian subroutines. Gotta love Seawall. Gotta love Seawall and that little bit of Hugo Boss that he's got in him. But we got to get into it. We got to get started. So let's do this. But before we get started, make sure you guys do go and check out TurnSomePagesProductions.com. We are still looking at getting some funding up for this, but once we get up and running and launched, you can use this site to go find great writers, great news, great opinion pieces, and great content creators such as the Porch Boys, the Daily Ignoramus, the Breakdown with Breckenhoff, the R-Rated Conservative, and the Freckles and Brit Show, plus a seventh show will be joining us at launch. So definitely go and check that out. That's going to be a great time. So yeah, please come back and enjoy our website. Bookmark it if you don't. And if you guys do want to help out, we do have the GoFundMe up here, which, by the way, Chilaga, I owe you a message because I saw that you messaged me last night, but I got home and I started organizing everything, and I will talk to you about this after work because I'm probably going to get out of work early tonight. So you want to help us out with that, we can do that. But if you want to help us out in the meantime, link will be in the chat to the GoFundMe if you guys want to come back out and help us out. Even $1 will help out. But Chilaga is also a Subscribestar subscriber, and all donations that are coming in until we get this site launched go directly into the fund, plus fees. I match the fees, so you are getting your full donation coming into this. The fees come out of my pocket. All donations that come in until we get this thing launched go directly into the fund to go to this. So your Buy Me a Coffees, your Subscribestar, your Twitch subs, everything that you do that comes into this channel goes into TurnSomePagesProductions.com. So thank you guys so much for helping out on any donation that you can. Looking into this now, let's get started. Let's go. Let's figure out what we've got going on in the news, starting with the finance. Looking at the Dow Jones, the Dow actually closed slightly down yesterday, and it stayed down throughout the entire day, the previous close being just above 36,150. Now we are at, previous close was 36,157.58. We ended at 36,124.23, and there are a few things that are weighing on this that we've been observing throughout the week here too. So there's definitely some way to go going into the holiday season. I do think, by the way, and I'm actually surprised it didn't go up a little bit, that the thing with the vaccine mandate, because that was announced early in the day, didn't actually buoy this up a little bit. Because now we've got all the retail stuff. We'll talk about that at the top of the show with the news. So let's get into that. Alright. Looking at your Bitcoin is at 61,351 US dollars and 70 US cents. Holding steady. I would recommend, and this is not official financial advice, looking into other cryptos because Bitcoin kind of glows. And, you know, that's one of the poor situations that goes along with that, is something that gets to be high profile like that tends to be watched by everybody because, oh my god, you might buy drugs or prostitutes with it. But still something to watch because this is one with an ETF out there that is acceptable to Soccer Mom America. So this one is going to be buoyed up, and this is going to be the gold standard as to where cryptocurrency goes if cryptocurrency remains in the market. It's the one that everybody with a minivan and an SUV feels comfortable buying. But once the shit hits the fan, that's what people are going to be selling off first too. So we can get a nice gauge off where the economy is based on watching where this goes and who promotes this, inflates this, and who lets it crash. Alright, let's look in at your industrials, your metal prices. Looks like we have copper is up, steel is up, aluminum is up on all the averages, looking in at the individuals. Copper plays are up except for brass. Brass shells are up, however. Brass proper is down on your steel. It's a little interesting to see that steel is up just based on some of the numbers we're seeing here. BX steel is up. Light iron is down. Number 1 steel is down. Cast iron is up. Rotors are down. Complete car is up. Shreddable steel is up. Stainless steel is up. So a little bit of half and half here, but enough to buoy the average number up on aluminum. Siding is up. Aluminum copper fin radiators are up, buoyed partially by the copper. Regular radiators are down. Cans are down. Sheet aluminum is down. Rims are up. On your other plays, electric motors are down. Ballasts are up. Lead is up in spite of the fact that car batteries are down. Your catalytic converters are about half and half. Looks like they are, on the average, they're holding the downswing, or on the upswing though. Compressors are down, alternators are down, carbide is down, hard drives are up. So that's what we see coming up out of your metal plays. Let's see what IBD has to say, and then we will get into the big news of the day. From Investors Business Daily, Dow Jones Futures Market Rally Flashes Warning, NVIDIA spikes on Metaverse, push for stocks flash buy signals. This is from Ed Carson. Dow Jones Futures rose slightly Friday morning, along with S&P 500 Futures and NASDAQ Futures ahead of the October jobs report. The stock market rally continued to power higher with Tesla stock and specifically NVIDIA, pushing the NASDAQ into extended territory, but the Dow Jones and Russell 2000 fell as falling oil prices and treasury yields took a toll on energy and financial stocks. NVIDIA stock skyrocketed Thursday as Wells Fargo sees the chip maker make a big metaverse push. It's going to be interesting. We're still at a chip shortage, apparently. And Zuckerberg wants to add new technology so you can go and be in the oasis. I mean the metaverse. Tesla and NVIDIA are now greatly extended themselves, but their rapid breakouts have triggered the 8-week hold rule. Bill.com, Datadog, Cloudflare, Fortinet, Airbnb, Expedia, Progeny, and Peloton Worldwide were notable earnings after the close. Bill stock soared late on earnings, signaling a bullish gap on Friday. FTNT stock rose modestly, perhaps near an alternate entry. Airbnb stock popped early Friday after just moving into buy range on Thursday. Expedia jumped up to the top with an advertisement. Signaling at least an aggressive entry. Net stock, and especially Datadog, rallied on results overnight and already extended. On the downside, Progeny stock fell sharply from near buy point. Peloton crashed to a 52-week low. Yeah, people are going out into the rat race anymore. They're not sitting there buying more exercise bikes. On Friday, Pfizer said its COVID pill with an HIV drug cuts the risk of hospitalization or death by 89%. This follows Merck, which this week got approval for its antiviral COVID pill. Pfizer stock spiked before the open. Merck stock fell, pairing weekly gains. COVID vaccine maker Moderna sank. Adding to sharp weekly losses, Pfizer vaccine partner BioNTech also fell, which is probably part of the reason that we're starting to see the mandate. And possibly with the fact, and we'll talk about this in just a second in the next article, but the fact that they did push this off until January, people were probably looking at these plays saying, okay, well, these employers are going to demand people get vaccinated right before the holidays. We're going to cash in big before we get out of here. And now that this is not going to happen until after January, now the investors are looking at this and saying, what the fuck? We were going to cash in big. What are we going to do? So that is something to watch. And there's something else that I want to point out with this. And I didn't put this into the stack because, well, just because we were already full up on the news cycle here. But yes, the COVID pill did get approved in Europe. We'll probably talk about this coming up on Monday. But with the COVID pill being approved, a lot of people are going to say, oh, hey, look, all these anti-vaxxers out there, they won't get the vaccine, but they'll take the COVID pill, and that's new technology, and it's not FDA approved too. Ha ha, we just told you, we told you that you're just anti-vax like we always told you. And some of these people are. Some of these people are going to look at this. And it was the same thing with the monoclonal antibodies, with the drug slurry that they give out to people, the Regeneron. We're all new technologies as well. And I can't speak for all the MAGA people, but I can tell you this. I won't take those. I won't take the monoclonal antibodies because, well, I don't take a lot of medication. I don't go to the hospital for shit. I won't take the COVID pill. You know why? Because I don't really take a lot of medication. I barely take aspirin, you guys. Why the hell would I want to take some sort of other experimental drug, whether it be by the mouth, up the ass, or in the arm? A nasal spray I wouldn't normally take. You guys have seen me struggle and fight with my allergies on camera in the morning because the pine tree's fucked overnight. And it is a struggle. I have to be like dying before I will go over there and take a Zyrtec. So why? Why would I want to come back out and do one of these other drugs that's coming up through here? Alright, but that's what we see off of that. The news also could be giving a lift to travel-related stocks. Tesla, Nvidia, Airbnb, and Datadog are on the IBD leaderboard. Fortinet stock is on the IBD long-term leaders. Datadog stock, Tesla, Nvidia, and Cloudflare are on the IBD 50. Airbnb stock was the IBD stock of the day. On your futures, the Dow futures rose 0.15% versus fair value, even with Merck stock tumbling. S&P 500 futures climbed 0.25%. NASDAQ 100 futures advanced 0.1% off pre-market highs as Moderna stock and other NASDAQ-listed vaccine makers sell off. Peloton is on the NASDAQ 100 as well, but many techs pointed higher before the open. U.S. crude oil futures rose 1% after sinking below $80 a barrel on Thursday. Copper futures edged up, and we'll talk about the oil prices too coming up here. Don't worry about that. The Labor Department will release the October jobs report at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Economists expect a non-farm payrolls gain of 450,000, with the jobless rate dipping to 4.7%. Well, if they are expecting 450,000, what do we usually see? Probably about 10% of what they're looking for. So maybe 4,500 or 45,000 instead. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe they temper their expectations enough that they'll actually get what they're expecting. I don't know. I still see a lot of help wanted signs out there. So I know what's on the ground. They have all the data, all the sheets, all the ADP stuff. We will see where that goes. And remember, overnight action in Dow futures and elsewhere doesn't necessarily translate into actual trading in the next regular stock market session. All right, let's talk about the mandate, starting with Fox Business. Hey, you remember that detractor we had yesterday? Imagine going to Fox News for news. As if he didn't realize and sit there with us and see the fact that I had used the New York Post, CNN, The Hill. Prior to that, he just had to focus on the fact that he used Fox News. He must be a right-wing idiot. That guy was fun. He was closing in on call to action. That's the only reason that I shut him up for a little bit. But once again, unless somebody doxes somebody, nobody gets banned here. That's it. That's the rule. But if somebody gives out some personal details to somebody, I expect one of you guys to get rid of that fucker. If not, I will. Just like it says in the Discord. No appeals and no questions. If you give out somebody else's personal information, you are gone. But with Fox Business here, OSHA vaccine mandate hit large employers on January 4th with hefty fines for non-compliance. This is from Michael Lee. The Occupational Safety and Health Administration. Oh, is that what it stands for? I thought it was the Oh Shit Administration. Because they typically show up after somebody on the ground says, oh shit, is giving employers with more than 100 employees a January 4th deadline to comply with President Biden's COVID-19 vaccine mandate and threatening thousands of dollars in fines for defiant businesses, according to a fact sheet released by the White House on Thursday. The OSHA rule is expected to be immediately challenged in court by Republican states and some business groups. Separate from OSHA, the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services is issuing a rule to require healthcare workers in facilities participating in Medicare and Medicaid to be fully vaccinated. The CMS rule will also go into effect on January 4th and will cover more than 17 million workers at approximately 76,000 healthcare facilities nationwide. Unlike the OSHA rule, the CMS rule affecting healthcare workers does not allow for a testing alternative to vaccination. The CMS rule does allow for medical and religious exemptions. The White House also said Thursday that it would push back its federal contractor vaccine mandate from December 8th to January 4th. A coalition of Republican attorneys general have also filed suit against the federal contractor mandate. I don't know if they will have standing to do that because the federal contractors, I mean, I hope they get it and they succeed, don't get me wrong, but I don't know if they're going to have standing is the problem, because federal contractors do serve at the pleasure of the executive branch, usually in a military capacity on most instances. So I do think that they would be directly affected by HR rules of the executive branch of the United States government. But I don't know about that because I'm not an attorney. Just looking at the superstructure, that seems to be how that would work. Employers with more than 100 employees must ensure that all their workers are either fully vaccinated or subject to weekly testing, and mask wearing. Fully vaccinated means that the employee has received 2 doses of Moderna or Pfizer BioNTech shots or 1 dose of Johnson & Johnson shot. But you're not vaccinated if you don't get the booster. Biden announced the policy in September, arguing it was a vital step to make sure more of the country received the vaccine. And, well, follow the money. That's what we need to look at, that is follow the money. And look at the fact, by the way, like we just saw in the finance article. When this got announced, Pfizer and Moderna both dropped off hard. Wait, what's my line? Oh, we've been patient, but our patience is wearing thin, and your refusal has cost all of us, Biden said at the time. Well, America is in much better shape than it was 7 months ago when I took office. We're in a tough stretch, and it could last us for a while. According to senior admin officials, OSHA will assist employers to develop their vaccine and testing standards. Fines for willfully failing to comply with the mandate could reach as much as $14,000 per violation, with the potential for multiple citations per business. And that's where we're seeing off this. The rule will also preempt any inconsistent state or local laws, including laws that ban or limit an employer's authority to require vaccination, masks, or testing, the White House said. The rule is set to impact roughly 84 million employees. 70% of all U.S. adults are fully vaccinated, according to the administration. All right. And that's where we're going to stop off of this and start to discuss some of the things that are going on with this. So, when we look at this, first and foremost, all the way back in January, when we started talking about the vaccine, when we started talking about mandates, and we started talking about, won't you please just go and get the vaccine, as people started giving away lifted trucks and guns and lotteries and a host of numerous other things to try and convince people just to get this thing voluntarily. The goal was 70% of the population fully vaccinated, double dosed. Because if we get to 70%, we have herd immunity. According to this, according to Fox Business, we're there, 70%. But now the goalpost is moved. Now it's everybody who works in a company that has more than 100 employees. Because the money's starting to drop off and dry up. For your Pfizer, your BioNTech. And, we just talked about it last week. There's a possibility that some of the immunocompromised could be required to take a 4th shot now. Another shot every 6 months. Another shot every month. Just make sure you keep getting this thing. And, I know that there are some conspiracy theorists out there that think that this is the mark of the beast, that none shall buy and sell unless they have this thing. Which, given the fact that there's the card that goes with that you would probably hold in your right hand, I can see the correlation. I don't believe it, but I can see the correlation that these people are drawing. I could definitely see where they're coming off of this. There are the people that say that this is out to sterilize the population so we can do population reduction. I don't believe that either. But I can see where people are coming from with this, especially given the fact that Bill Gates was involved in developing this thing. And he has talked extensively about population control, population reduction. And there are also the ideas that go into this, the looks that say, oh, hey, we're going to be looking at reproductive health, irregular periods, miscarriages, stuff like that. And people who have been vaccinated. There are still studies going on for that. But I don't believe this is about population control. As I've said from the beginning, I want to see the invoices that are being submitted from Pfizer, from Moderna, from Johnson & Johnson, to the federal government. This vaccine is free to its end user. It is not a free vaccine. And I want to see the invoice with the per dose itemized. And then I also want to see the cost sheet, because I want to see what it costs to make this thing. Because I don't believe that this is a mark of the beast. I don't think this is a microchip for control. And as much as I joke about it whenever I find out that one of my friends got the vaccine, I don't believe this is a 5G tracker or a 5G cell receptor either. Although it is funny when somebody says they got the vaccine to say, hey, how's your cell coverage? I don't believe that either. What I do believe is follow the money. The federal government has found a way to give untold amounts of money, and given the fact that this is millions and millions of dollars, millions and millions of shots in arms, 70% of the U.S. population. Let's do some quick figuring here. C. So 330. $338 million times 0.7 is $231 million, and let's actually do that by, let's go with 1.8, just given the lack of popularity. Oops, 270 million. So 330 times 0.7, 231 million, times 1.8, just because the Johnson & Johnson was so rarely used, we will assume that the vast majority of people got the Pfizer or the BioNTech, so we will go with 1.8 to account for 2 doses. And we will also multiply that by 1.1 to account for the number of booster shots that have been given out, which is surprisingly lower. 1.1. So even if all of these vaccines cost $1, which I guarantee you they cost more than that just in the research and everything else, plus the no-bid contract that to jack it up because it's going to the federal government. Even if every one of these vaccine doses costs $1, we do need to take that back down a little bit too, because kids were not involved in this. So approximately 60% of the population is over the age of, no, let's go 70 because we're going down to the age of 12. So we'll actually bring that down to 0.7. Even if every one of these doses, and these are just spitballed numbers based on statistics, even if every one of these doses costs $1, that's $320.2 million going out to these big pharma companies. But what if they cost $10 per dose? What if they cost $20 a dose? What if they cost $100 a dose? And then once again, we weigh the cost of the materials going in versus the actual invoice price that's going to the federal government. And do you think that these big billionaire companies are going to, they're just going to hold on to this? They're going to put it in the big money vault? Like Scrooge McDuck? They're going to convert it into coins and then go swimming in it? Do you think that's what they're going to do? Or are they going to donate some of that money because the government is trying to make laws, like this vaccine mandate? Which is actually not a law, it's an executive order. But they're trying to make executive orders that are favorable to getting more and more of these numbers off of here. And that's why I want to see the cost sheet versus the invoice that goes to the federal government. Because I guarantee you that's part of the reason that's pushing this. And then there will be some leftoid who watches this back on Twitch or YouTube that tells you, you're fucking retarded! And because he's a leftoid, he'll get away with it over here. Whereas even the fact that I just said that word might get me shut down on YouTube. But he'll come out here and say, "You're fucking dumb! The vaccine is free, you fucking retard!" There's always one. But that's where we see coming off of that. And that's part of what we see off of this. Now, the other aspect that I wanted to get with this, and I've spent entirely more time than I thought I would just on this one article, is the timing. 3 weeks ago, we talked about a news story in which big business leaders came up. It was 2 weeks ago, I'm sorry. 2 weeks ago, we talked about a news story in which big business leaders came up and started talking about, well, please, Mr. Biden, just wait until after the holiday season. Wait until after this. This is our busiest time. We need workers. We need to bring more people in. And I said at the time, it'll be telling what they actually think about this pandemic, whether they do this or not. And yes, I'm sure once you're in your big retail stores, there are going to be mask mandates. There's going to be this mandate. There's going to be that mandate. I'm sure there's going to be. But yes, they came out and begged, and they said, no, please wait till after the holiday season. And if this was such a crisis, such a massive emergency, such a dangerous thing, I would have expected the Biden admin to tell them to go pound sand. We need to do this right now, otherwise everybody's going to die. This will be the end of humanity if we don't go out and do this right now. Well, no. They stopped, and they are doing this after the holiday season. The business lobby was able to come back and put pressure on the Biden admin to make sure that they kept their retail sales up, so people went out there and bought all the toys that were on the shelf, that are still on the shelf because we have supply chain issues, to make sure that Veruca Salt, Violet Beauregard was the gum chewer, that Veruca Salt got whatever she wanted when she tugged on the coattails and said, "I want that one, Daddy!" Because if there aren't people to sell them, they're going to have to start shutting down stores early, coming into Black Friday and the holiday season. Follow the money. Always follow the money. And you will find a lot of the reasoning behind the government. But that's where we go. Let's keep going, shall we? From Government Executive. OSHA vaccine rule applies to Postal Service employees. Yeah, your government union's not going to be happy with that, you guys. The vaccine rule the Biden admin unveiled on Thursday applies to the U.S. Postal Service, but the agency has not yet commented publicly on how this will play out. On Thursday morning, the administration released details on its new vaccine rules. One is from the Labor Department's Occupational Safety and Health Administration that applies to private businesses with 100 or more employees. And by the way, they're talking about bringing that down too. And there is a testing option if employees decline to get vaccinated. The other, from the Health and Human Services Department, Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, is a vaccine mandate that applies to healthcare workers at facilities participating in Medicare or Medicaid programs. Under the OSHIT Act, the U.S. Postal Service is treated as private employer, said OSHA's emergency temporary standard, set to officially publish in the Federal Register on Friday. It is therefore required to comply with this emergency temporary standard in the same manner as any other employer covered by this act. The rule says that 5,246 postal workers are covered by the vaccine rule, but this is not the same as U.S. Postal Service. A Labor Department spokesperson told Government Executive these are private sector companies carrying mail or doing other work as contractors for the U.S. Postal Service, such as FedEx or Delta Airlines. Under North American Industry Classification System, the industry comprises establishments primarily engaged in providing mail services under a universal service obligation. For context, even if Delta Airlines is a contract carrier, only a small number of their employees would show up in this classification system. And I'm a little curious, actually, as to how that works, too. For FedEx, specifically. Now, if you see the big FedEx semi with a sleeper cab or even the day cab, with a big FedEx trailer behind him, running down the interstate, or the one that's got the doubles on behind him, the LTL that's going from dock to dock. That is owned and operated by FedEx. But when you see the panel van in most places, and I think that this might actually be subject to local laws and rules, where I live in redacted Wisconsin, if you see the panel van, the FedEx panel van going down, and I think most of your air too, I believe most of your air options, like your little Sprinter van or whatnot, if you see that going down the road, that's usually a contractor contracted on with FedEx. So it is an independent small business. Actually, I knew the guy around the Madison area that fixed almost everybody's FedEx, even though they were all private businesses. They all went to the same guy to go get their trucks fixed. But that's an independent business, so I don't know if they would fall under that or not. But as far as the post office, yeah, they're going to be subject to this. I wanted to grab another one here that I didn't put on the stack, but I do want to put on the stack here. Something that I've been seeing popping in and out here. I had to archive this one because the dude blocked me right away. I wanted to grab this one too, and I didn't grab it because the dude blocked me right away. But I did touch a nerve a little bit here, talking about some of the vaccine stuff. Because disclose.tv, and I do have that, I do have that one out here. Put out here. Yep, that's the tweet out here. So the tweet that they had out here is disclose.tv says just in Biden's vaccine mandate for large employers begins on January 4th with hefty fines for non-compliance. Also, they continue on, OSHA plans to send out agents to check for that workplaces are in compliance with the rule. For willful violations, the company can be fined up to $136,532. The standard penalty is $13,653 for a single violation. That is $13,000 per person per incident. So every time they have to come back. But I had to archive this because, of course, the dude blocked me. Because that's what they do when they get pushed back on. But this goes out here. Kyle Nestor comes back out. That's at sportsguy_44_45. That says, OSHA already sends out its agents to check that workplaces are in compliance with the rules. This is nothing new. And I pointed out, I've worked in the industrial sector for 2 decades because I have been working in the industrial sector around heavy equipment since I was in high school. Since I was like 14 or 15. Do you know when the last time I saw an OSHA inspector was? It's been over 2 decades. I have never seen an OSHA inspector anywhere that I've worked, ever. In 23 years in the workforce, I have never seen an OSHA inspector, ever. Kyle Nestor says, okay, my point still stands. OSHA's been sending out agents forever, so it's nothing new. And I turned around and I said, my point is that if you think the OSHA Gestapo is going to be going door to door asking there for any unvaccinated in the attic or under the floorboards, you're deluding yourself. There are like 800 OSHA agents, by the way. For all 50 states. For 16,000 businesses that are over 100 employees. There are 800 OSHA agents. And then, because they're talking about dropping this down to now like 50, you add another 35,000 businesses on top of that. Do you think they will be going door to door saying, show us you're unvaccinated. Are you hiding them in the attic? Are they under the floorboards? Where are they? We will find them. And of course, because there was a little bit of pushback on the left-wing agenda, Kyle Nestor says, you're a dumbass using those analogies. Bye-bye. And then hit the block button. But luckily enough, I had already copied a link to this to go back out and show to various people, and was able to come back and archive this. All right, and then yes, we saw this. Zuby talking a little bit of different vaccine stuff and COVID stuff. Zuby says the complete unwillingness and properly discuss and address this and the reasons why it's avoided perfectly encapsulates several of my biggest gripes with modern society. Citing a screenshotted article from CNBC that says the CDC study finds about 78% of people hospitalized for the pinko-fucking-pox were overweight or obese. And luckily for us, Midget B actually archived this article, so they can't come back and change this. And we will see what it is that they have to say. The CDC study finds about that 78% of people hospitalized for COVID were overweight or obese. This is from Berkeley Loveless Jr. An overwhelming majority of the people who have been hospitalized, needed a ventilator, or died from COVID-19 have been overweight or obese, the CDC director said in a new study on Monday. Among the 148,494 adults who received COVID-19 diagnosis during an emergency department or inpatient visit at 238 U.S. hospitals from March to December, 71,491 were hospitalized. Of those who were admitted, 27.8% were overweight and 50.2% were obese, according to the CDC report. Overweight is defined as having a BMI of 25 or more, while obesity is defined as having a BMI of 30 or more. And thankfully, I do fall in between the two of those. I'm working on that. It is ridiculous, though, like, for BMI, if you just go on a BMI chart, and I just want to step back off this for just a second and say that if you just go on a BMI chart at 5'11" and a half, which is what I am, 6 feet if I have cowboy boots on, I need to be like 168 pounds to be under the overweight mark. I don't think I'm getting under 168 pounds anymore. I was the second time I got engaged. I was under that at that point. I was a skinny dude when I was younger, but I've developed muscle that I didn't have, and even working in the industrial sectors when I was a kid. I have more muscle in my arm and shoulders now than I did back then. I don't think I can get under 170 anymore. Not because I don't think I can lose that much fat off my body. I think I could, but with the muscle that's been replaced in certain parts of my body, my legs and my arms especially, I don't think I can get down below that weight. I'm going to try, but I don't think I can. Even if I had perfectly flat, rock-hard abs, I don't think that I could get down below that anymore. But using these numbers for the actual purposes that are going off of here, the agency found the risk for hospitalizations, ICU admissions, and deaths was lowest among individuals with BMIs under 25. The risk of severe illness sharply increased, however, as BMIs rose, particularly among people 65 and older, the agency said. Just over 42% of the U.S. population was considered obese in 2018, according to the agency's most recent statistics. It doesn't take a lot of extra pounds to be considered overweight or obese. A 5'10" man at 175 pounds and a 5'4" woman at 146 would both be considered overweight with BMIs just over 25, according to the CDC's BMI calculator. A man and a woman of the same heights would be considered obese at 210 pounds and 175 pounds, respectively. Yeah, that extra inch helped me. Did you know that Hulk Hogan and The Rock are both considered to be in the morbidly obese category, by the way? I mean, they're both walls of walking meat and fucking muscle, but it's because it takes your actual body weight versus your height. Not taking into effect any other factors, just your body weight versus your height. As clinicians develop care plans for COVID-19 patients, they should consider the risk for severe outcomes in patients with higher BMIs, especially for those with severe obesity, the agency wrote. The CDC added that the findings highlight the clinical and public health implications of higher BMIs, including the promotion of COVID prevention strategies, such as continued vaccine prioritization, masking, and policies to ensure community access to nutrition and physical activities. And I see that Randy points out the fact that the overwhelming majority of deaths are false positives. We talked about that in the Discord last night, right before I did my article dump in Articles Worth Investigating. If you haven't joined the Discord, join the Discord. That's a great place to put articles that you want me to cover on Contemporary. And on a week that's not super news heavy, I usually try to get to them. But with the Rittenhouse thing and the vaccine thing, it might be a stretch this week. I have deleted probably 30 articles across all 4 days so far this week that are not going to make it to the Red Ned show just because we ran out of time. And I didn't discuss them up here. But we also talked about the fact that, and Midget B pointed out the fact that we need to look at a little bit of healthy skepticism as well. We need to talk about some healthy skepticism on those numbers, which we do. Because I have to ask the question. Do the people that are counted into the study, are they the ones who were riding a motorcycle without a helmet and slammed into the back of a semi at 70 miles an hour that was stopped and then eventually died from COVID? Do we count those ones? Do we count the people who fell off a ladder head first and died of COVID? Do we count those ones? Do we count the gentleman? Because it's usually a male that does this. That put a 357 in his mouth and pulled the trigger and then died of COVID. Do we count the guy who was driving a little bit too far past Wacker Avenue and got to the emergency room with 75 bullet holes in him and his wallet missing and died of COVID? Do we count those people? I don't know, but there's also the correlation just in Americans in general who are overweight to obese. And Britt talked about this I think it was when she was on my show. No, it wasn't when she was on my show. It was when she was on her show last Friday. Britt went on to one of her big rants, pointing out, and I love Britt rants too, but pointing out the fact that a lot of the people out there, because obesity was a major comorbidity for this thing. If you were well overweight, that seemed to be, just like the study showed, the majority of people who were dying from this thing. And there are people out there that either did nothing about their lifestyles, or even some of them who went out and got fatter for this, where Britt worked her ass off and dropped a bunch of weight. And she looks fantastic too, by the way, but went off and dropped a bunch of weight because she knew that this would make her healthier, and she didn't want to have the COVID in the house, or somebody dying of the COVID in the house where she's got 2 immunocompromised kids. She worked her ass off to lose a bunch of weight. She's still going with it. I am working my ass off and losing a bunch of weight at this point. I'm below 220 for the first time since I left Kenosha. But that's what the study finds. From the New York Post, deer identified as widespread carrier of coronavirus, according to a study. From Hannah Sparks. Well, I guess that means I will have to go off and cull the herd, because they are too dangerous to be left alive. Yet another study of white-tailed deer suggests that the North American population is harboring widespread coronavirus infection. As much as 80% of these 445,000-strong Iowa deer population may carry the disease, according to a new study the Times reported on Tuesday. The rate of infection was said to be effectively 50 times more pervasive in deer than Iowa's human population. The preprint report, now awaiting review from scientific peers prior to publication, showed that the deer may have picked up the virus from humans sometimes during the testing period between April 2020 and January of 2021, though Penn State researchers are not clear as to how the cross-transmission could have occurred. The samples were derived from both roadkill and deer felled by hunters, and analysis of their lymph nodes reflected genomic sequencing that was hinted the virus had traveled through humans before infecting the deer. Conversely, there is yet no evidence to suggest humans have contracted the virus from the deer. However, the prevalence of the coronavirus among humans may hamper the efforts to eradicate the disease from nature, meaning the elimination of COVID-19 in humans wouldn't necessarily be enough to prevent another outbreak. It's never going away! The deer have it now. Now it'll be the bats next and then the snakes. Of course, they have to have the excuse to have this come back every year. We worked so hard, but we can't eradicate it. It's here. It's everywhere. Alright, that's what we have from that. Let's talk about Rittenhouse. So, a few things to go along with this first. From Fox News to start off with, Kyle Rittenhouse shouted friendly as he was being chased by a man moments before the fatal shooting. From Stephanie Pagones. A detective testified in the ongoing trial for Kyle Rittenhouse said the defendant shouted friendly, friendly, friendly as he was being chased by a man whom he later fatally shot, as Rittenhouse's attorney described the confrontation as a classic ambush. Jurors on Wednesday night spent much of the day hearing testimony regarding video footage from the night of August 25th when Rittenhouse fatally shot 2 men and wounded a third during a night of destruction and unrest in Kenosha, Wisconsin. Rittenhouse and at least one friend said they traveled to the Wisconsin city to protect local businesses and provide medical aid after 2 nights of businesses being looted and set on fire. Kyle was 17 at the time and brought a medical kit and an AR-15 style semi-automatic rifle, the latter of which had been supplied to him and a friend and was later used in the shootings. Part of Wednesday's video included infrared video made by an FBI surveillance plane from about 9,000 feet above the spot where Rittenhouse shot 36-year-old Joseph Rosenbaum, with colored circles superimposed on the video, so identifying the movements of the 2 men. Kenosha Police Detective Martin Howard agreed with the defense attorney Mark Richards that Rittenhouse had repeatedly shouted friendly as he was being chased and that Rosenbaum appeared to be gaining ground on Rittenhouse. Richards also described how Rosenbaum had come out from behind the car to meet Rittenhouse before the shooting, saying to the detective, "Correct me if I'm wrong, but this looks like a classic ambush." After persecutors objected, Richards said, "Mr. Rosenbaum is hiding as my client arrives, correct?" "Yeah, we talked about that yesterday. I showed you that yesterday. That is a classic pincer movement. Rittenhouse is running. It is unclear whether he's running after Rosenbaum or not. In fact, at some angles, it does look like he's running from something else, not necessarily running after Rosenbaum. And given the fact that it was the dark night, I don't know if he necessarily saw Rosenbaum either. Given the fact that where he was running from when he was chasing Rosenbaum was all residential areas that didn't necessarily have their front porch lights on. So I'm sure he saw a figure, but I don't know if he knows that was Rosenbaum, which would throw the premeditated murder out. Which is what they're trying to tie him to, say, he was chasing down an unarmed man. Well, there was quite a distance behind the 2 of them. And we saw the video where Rosenbaum ran between 2 cars and hid, and Rittenhouse ran straight into Zeminski, who had a gun, and then Rosenbaum jumped out behind him and started chasing after Rittenhouse, where he started screaming, "Friendly, friendly, friendly," got up, cornered by a couple more cars, and, well, we all saw the rest of that. "It appears so, yes," Howard responded. The video, played for the 20-person jury of 11 women and 9 men, shows the man running after Rittenhouse and throwing a plastic bag at him. Someone is heard yelling, "Fuck you," followed by the sounds of 4 shots Rittenhouse fired, killing Rosenbaum, though the shooting itself is not clearly seen on camera. Moments after the shooting, 36-year-old Rosenbaum, Rittenhouse shot and killed Anthony Huber, 26, a protester from Silver Lake, who had been seen on a bystander video hitting Rittenhouse with a skateboard. Rittenhouse then wounded Gage Greuskreutz, a protester from West Allis, who had a gun in his hand as he stepped towards Rittenhouse. Court resumed on Thursday after a brief morning delay. When a juror was dismissed from the case, Howard then continued his testimony. Rittenhouse is charged with 2 counts of homicide, 1 count of attempted homicide, recklessly endangering safety, and illegal possession of a dangerous weapon by a person under 18. He faces up to life in prison if convicted. And they were stupid enough not to put Man 3 on the table, because that's the only charge that I could actually see, plus the weapons charge, but that's a misdemeanor. That's a fine. Alright, we've got some video off of here. So this is the video that was taken from the Daily Caller reporter. I cannot think of his name right now, but he spent the majority of yesterday on the stand. I got through about 4 hours of yesterday's testimony. And yeah, this was the video that was taken by the Daily Caller, which mea culpa, mea ultima culpa at this point. Rittenhouse shouldn't have been on here because he was also a minor at the time. McGinnis, thank you. But let's watch this video here.
You doing out here? Obviously you're armed and you're in front of this business we saw burning last night, so what's up?
So people are getting injured and our job is to protect this business, and part of my job is to also help people. If there's somebody hurt, I'm running into harm's way. That's why I have my rifle, because I need to protect myself, obviously. But I also have my med kit.
You doing out here? Obviously you're armed and you're in front of this business we saw burning last night, so what's up?
So people are getting injured and our job is to protect this business, and part of my job is to also help people. If there's somebody hurt, I'm running into harm's way. That's why I have my rifle, because I need to protect myself, obviously. But I also have my med kit.
You doing out here?
Later in the night, Rittenhouse gets into a verbal altercation with a man named Joseph Rosenbaum. 36, a convicted sex offender. Rosenbaum, brick red shirt, can be seen uncontrollably angry after Rittenhouse allegedly pointed his gun at Rosenbaum and walks away.
Everything you got, shoot me, nigga. Shoot me, nigga. Bust on me, nigga, for real.
And Rosenbaum later finds Rittenhouse and pursues him, which, like I say, a pedophile who loves young boys ended his life doing what he loved, chasing down a young boy under the age of 18. Rosenbaum later finds Rittenhouse and pursues him. It becomes evident Rosenbaum is looking to hurt Rittenhouse, then Rittenhouse shoots at Rosenbaum and hits him in the head. Rittenhouse then checks Rosenbaum's status and calls the police before fleeing the scene.
Boys. Yeah, that's Antifa, man. Oh, we got a gun, baby. Oh, they shoot. Oh, he shot him. Get back. Shot him, man. Shot him. Shot him, man. He laid him out. He laid him out, you guys. He laid him out. Boys. Yeah, that's Antifa, man. Oh, we got a gun, baby. Oh, they shoot.
All right, and I mean, with that being noted off of this, and the fact that they were into a verbal altercation before, and the fact that we saw from the overhead footage, Rosenbaum hid behind the car, pincer movement, and snuck up behind Rittenhouse, in which we saw the scene start.
Boys.
The car that Rosenbaum was hiding behind was, if you can see my cursor, over here. And I also contend, and by the way, I don't know if statute of limitations would be up by this or anything else, but I think that Szymanski does need to be brought in on charges. Because I do contend, and of course, given the fact that things played out the way that they did, I have no way to prove this, but I do contend that if had Szymanski not fired the shot, Joseph Rosenbaum might be alive today. Or he might have taken a different gunshot from a different angle, because Rittenhouse was cornered. But he might have let Rosenbaum get up to him and at least grab him and start hitting him beforehand. Or Rosenbaum might have taken the gun and shot Rittenhouse instead. But I contend the death sentence for Joseph Rosenbaum was Szymanski firing that shot. I do contend that is to be true. And because we don't want to get age restricted, I'm actually not going to play that last video off of this. But that is some of the video that we see just coming back out here. Thank you, Mr. Cardinal Truth, off of that. But he does say in this first video here from the Daily Caller that his intent with his rifle, on the record, is to defend himself. That is going to be important as it comes into the minds of the jury. That he didn't intend to go up here. What's one of the contentions that's been made from the beginning of this is the fact that the reason he went to Kenosha is because he intended to go kill people. That's why they tried to enter into evidence the statement that he made outside of the store, in which he said, allegedly, because there was no video of him saying this, it was just somebody who sounded somewhat similar to Kyle Rittenhouse saying, "Man, I wish I had my AR. I would take care of some of these people." But that's where we see coming back up off of that. From Channel 3000, which I checked, by the way, because remember I said this a while ago, we can't use Channel 3000 anymore because they have the restriction on the bottom that says this article cannot be used or retransmitted for any purpose without the express permission of Channel 3 out of Madison. Well, they took that off of here, and I went down below the comment section and everything else to make sure. So, according to your documentation, Channel 3000, I am using this within a legal sphere and a legal context. Witnesses, threat, lunge for gun from first Rittenhouse victim, from Amy Forliti, Tammy Weber, and Michael Tarm. And if Channel 3000 is saying that there might be something in play that would cause this for self-defense, this trial is over. If liberal Madison is saying Kyle Rittenhouse, his life was in danger because someone else was trying to grab his gun, this trial is over. It's done. If even Channel 3000 can't spin this out to guns are evil, then this trial is over. But we will see what happens when the jury appears. From Channel 3000, we have authors here. The Instagram video is done, so we'll take care of that later. From Amy Forliti. Oh, excuse me. Wow, I'm doing really great this morning. From Amy Forliti, Tammy Weber, and Michael Tarm of the Associated Press. The first man shot by Rittenhouse on the streets of Kenosha was hyper-aggressive that night, threatening to kill Rittenhouse and later lunged for his rifle just before the 17-year-old fired, witnesses testified on Thursday. The testimony at Rittenhouse's murder trial came from two witnesses who have been called to the stand by the prosecution but gave accounts more favorable to the defense in the politically polarizing case. Rittenhouse, now 18, is charged with shooting 3 men, 2 of them fatally, in the summer of 2020. The aspiring police officer had gone to Kenosha with an AR-style semi-automatic rifle and a medical kit in what he said was an effort to safeguard property from violent protests that broke out over the police shooting of a black man. Richie McGinnis, who was recording events on a cell phone that night for the conservative website The Daily Caller, testified that Rosenbaum, the first man shot that night, was killed after chasing down Rittenhouse and making a lunge for the gun. I think it was very clear to me that he was reaching specifically for the weapon, McGinnis said. Ryan Bulge, a former Army infantryman who carried an AR-style rifle that night and walked around patrolling the streets with Rittenhouse, testified that Rosenbaum was hyper-aggressive and acting out in a violent manner, including trying to set fires and throwing rocks. Bulge said that he got between Rosenbaum and another man while Rosenbaum was trying to start a fire, and Rosenbaum got angry, shouting, "If I catch any of you guys alone tonight, I'm going to fucking kill you." I don't know. I don't know if he specifically went down to the protest to try and get shot by a counter-protest, but I do believe that Rosenbaum went down there trying to commit suicide by another person. And given the fact that he had just got out of suicide watch, tells me that I might not be on the wrong track with that one. Bulk said that Rittenhouse was within earshot and that he believed the threat was aimed at both of them. Persecutors have portrayed Rittenhouse as the instigator of the bloodshed, while his lawyer has argued that he acted in self-defense, suggesting, among other things, that Rittenhouse had reason to fear his weapon would be taken away and used against him. The killing of Rosenbaum has emerged as one of the most crucial and disputed moments of the night. It's one of the few moments not clearly captured on video. In an attempt to undo some of the damage done by his own witness, Persecutor Thomas Binger said McGinnis' testimony about what Rosenbaum was intending to do was complete guesswork. "Isn't it?" he asked. "Well," McGinnis replied, "he said, 'fuck you,' and then he reached for the weapon." But McGinnis also appeared to boost the prosecution's case when he said he had a sense that something bad could happen that night because of all the guns in the area. The persecutor also elicited testimony from McGinnis and Bulk that affirmed that Rosenbaum was not armed that night and did not actually hurt anybody. In his testimony, McGinnis said that Rosenbaum lunged, Rittenhouse kind of dodged around with his weapon and then leveled the gun and fired. Binger repeatedly tried to get McGinnis to say Rosenbaum was not lunging but falling when he was shot, but McGinnis said the media interview, as McGinnis said in the media interview days after the shooting. But McGinnis said, "He was lunging, falling. I would use those as synonymous terms in this situation because basically, he threw his momentum towards the weapon." Yeah, that was one of the points that McGinnis actually made quite clear off of that, is that he did reach for the weapon. When he grabbed for it, it wasn't there, he fell forward. It wasn't the fact that he was reaching for something or he was falling over after being shot. As persecutors played the footage of Rosenbaum lying fatally wounded in a car lot, McGinnis struggled to keep his composure on the stand, rapidly inhaling and exhaling, then averting his eyes from a video monitor. The persecutor apologized for playing it, saying he had to do it. Across the room, Rittenhouse appeared to look away from his desktop monitor and cast his eyes downward, as the video showed Rosenbaum bleeding from the head and groaning loudly. The defense also has said shot fired by someone in the crowd moments before Rittenhouse began shooting made the young man believe that he was under attack. That is going to be the key to this. Is the Zeminski shot. Kenosha detective Martin Howard testified that the video shows a protester, Josh Zeminski, had fired the first shot into the air. Howard said he used a stopwatch and timed about 5 or 6 videos to determine that 2.5 seconds later, Rittenhouse began firing at Rosenbaum. A wealth of video has been played in the court that captured the tumultuous demonstration and the series of shootings. The shooting of Rosenbaum set in motion the bloodshed that followed moments later. Rittenhouse shot and killed Anthony Huber, a protester from Silver Lake who was seen on bystander video hitting Rittenhouse with a skateboard. Rittenhouse then wounded Gage Greuskreutz, a protester from West Dallas who had a gun in his hand as he stepped towards Rittenhouse. Before testimony resumed on Thursday, the judge dismissed a juror who had made the joke to a court security officer about the police shooting of Jacob Blake, the black man whose wounding triggered the Kenosha protest. The juror, a retired man, declined to repeat the joke for the judge. Yeah, we'll be talking about that in just a second, too. Okay, I gotta ask Binger here. Do you know what side you're on, Thomas Binger? Because if your witness, your key witness that you think is going to be your slam dunk witness, is the video editor for the Daily Caller, what did you think was going to happen? But yeah, even when Channel 3000 is coming out here saying this really looks like self-defense, this trial is over, dude. Unless it's hung jury, I don't think a reasonable juror can convict off of the evidence that's been brought forward thus far. Unless the prosecution has some slam dunk, which, like I said yesterday, I think there is a level to which we have to ask if the prosecutor said that he couldn't prosecute this case because this was clear self-defense and he was held to duress by somebody who was questionably elected in Wisconsin, who said, okay, by the power invested in me by the teachers union in Wisconsin, you will try this case or you will be fired and I will find somebody who will. And he's just throwing a mulligan because he didn't want to try this thing in the first place. But that's where we go off of that. Let's grab one here from our friends over at NPR. Let's talk about the juror for a second. And remember, because this is NPR, they need your money, I mean our money, comrade, to make sure that they keep spreading their messages of communism around the world. Spreading the narrative to make sure that you believe what they want you to believe. NPR, National Progressive Radio. It's not your money, comrade. It's our money. A juror in the Kyle Rittenhouse trial was dismissed for joking about Jacob Blake. This is from Becky Sullivan. Let's see what Becky has to say. A juror in the trial of Kyle Rittenhouse has been dismissed by the judge for making a joke about Jacob Blake, the black man whose shooting by police sparked the protests in Kenosha, where Rittenhouse shot and killed 2 protesters. The juror, a retired white man, made the joke to a court police officer as the officer escorted him to his car on Wednesday afternoon. The officer reported the joke to Judge Bruce Schrader. I'm guessing somebody didn't want to be around this trial anymore. Called before the judge and lawyers on Thursday morning, the juror confirmed that he made the joke but declined to repeat it. That's lame. I kind of wanted to hear it. It was my understanding that something along the lines of why did the Kenosha police shoot Jacob Blake several times, said prosecutor Thomas Binger. It's my understanding that the rest of the joke is because they ran out of bullets. Blake, who was 29 at the time, was shot 7 times in the back by Rustin Chesky, a white Kenosha police officer outside an apartment building on August 23, 2020. Police had been called to the building by a woman who had previously filed a sexual assault complaint against Blake. Blake was left paralyzed from the waist down. Both police and Blake acknowledged that he was holding a knife, though Blake said he was moving to place it in his car after it fell from his pants. Yeah. After you got tased a couple times and were somewhere. And by the way, it just blows my mind that there are still people out there that believe the narrative that Jacob Blake was there to break up a fight and he was unarmed and police shot him. They held him down and shot him execution style. Well, first off, he's alive. Binger asked the judge to dismiss the juror, saying the joke suggested racial bias. Okay. If the joke is the way that Binger put it out there, I would actually say it's anti-police bias, which once again is bias in the case, but that sounds to me like he was saying that the police officer was bad and that they would have kept shooting if they had more bullets. Regardless of whether the issue is as grave as Binger presented in terms of inner feelings, it is clear that the appearance of bias is present, and it would seriously undermine the outcome of this case, said Schrader as he dismissed the juror. The public needs to be confident that this is a fair trial. Which is based as fuck, by the way. I look at the video, and I see an innocent young man who had to revert to his firearm as a last resort. But I'm not on the jury. And this goes including all the video that I've seen over the last 3 days. But I'm not on the jury. So my opinion doesn't necessarily matter. And this does need to be a fair trial. If the evidence presented comes to a jury of his peers, which once again I'm a little bit concerned off of that, seeing what we saw with the Chauvin case. We could talk about that after the fact, if it goes in a different way. But if the evidence provided does show a jury of his peers the fact that, in fact, Rittenhouse is an evil monster who went around swinging his gun saying, I'm going to execute every single black person in Kenosha. I will find all of them and I will kill them. If the evidence does show that, then yes, put this guy in prison forever. Because that's a bad thing to do. But in spite of the fact that, yes, Schrader pissed a lot of the leftoids off, coming out and saying, well, you can't use victim because it might poison the jury pool, which is effectively a standard option when it comes to cases that have self-defense involved on them. When he came out and talked about that and said that, all the leftoids said, oh, this is a biased trial, but it's not a biased trial. If somebody appears to be biased on the other direction, they're going to get dismissed just as fast. And no, I'm not going to read that on the air. I see you, Arvold. Our meme dream team here, Katie Zed and Arvold, going back and forth after each other. Alright, and that's what we have off the Rittenhouse case today. 4 hours of testimony that I watched yesterday. My God. Binger, do you not know whose side you're on? Seriously. Alright, let's talk about the election integrity. From ABC 7 Eyewitness News, starting off of the New Jersey side. Longtime New Jersey Senate President Sweeney loses to truck driver Ed Durr, which I have another tweet in my Discord that I neglected to grab for the stack here. Because I fucking slept like an idiot. That goes along with this. And also, by the way, Midget B, I love the content that you provide in the Discord, but I am not going to read your comments from the Discord out loud because they will get me taken off of YouTube. But I want to read this one here first. Longtime New Jersey Senate President Sweeney loses to truck driver Ed Durr. From the Associated Press by Mike Catalini. New Jersey's longtime Senate President, Democrat Steve Sweeney, lost re-election, failing to a Republican newcomer who spent little money and underscoring Democratic woes in the Biden era. Ed Durr, a furniture company truck driver and first-time office holder, defeated Sweeney in New Jersey's 3rd District, according to results tallied on Thursday. Sweeney's defeat was unexpected and has cast the fate of the state government into uncertainty. It is stunning and shocking. I cannot figure it out, said Majority Leader Loretta Weinberg in an interview. His loss unfolded in a politically competitive suburban Philadelphia district whose counties split their votes between Democrat and Republicans in the presidential elections in 2016 and again in 2020. Do I have my geography wrong? Does Philly touch New Jersey? I didn't realize that. I gotta look at a map. Holy shit, it does. Ha! I never knew that. You learn something new every day. I thought New Jersey was basically an extension of New York City. I didn't realize New Jersey touched Pennsylvania. Interesting. Interesting indeed. Let's see. It also coincided with a boosted GOP turnout. Even in an off-year election that saw Republicans make gains across the state. Durr's victory Thursday netted about 3% more votes than Sweeney did in 2017 in unofficial returns. Sweeney's attention was also focused on tight Senate races elsewhere in the state. I don't really think it was Steve Sweeney, said incoming Republican leader Steve Oroho. I think it has more to do with the messaging coming from people who were just annoyed at all the executive orders and all the mandates and being sick and tired of being told what they can and can't do. Which I do want to take a second and actually discuss this and what happened here, because this has really pissed a lot of people off. especially over on the leftoid side. So we will read from our friend Radio Free Tom Nichols, not Radio Free Todd, Radio Free Tom Nichols over here, who says, so the guy who defeated the New Jersey Senate president ran because he was denied a concealed carry permit. I'm sure this will all go very well and produce a fine, informed legislature. I don't think Tom quite realizes what's going on here. That is the exact perfect reason to go run for office. If the government has failed you for one reason or another, then you should go back and hold office. You absolutely should. Beverly, can't help but wondering what's in this man's background to cause his concealed carry permit to be denied. Spooky Friends In says the process for obtaining a concealed carry in New Jersey is nearly impossible without a mountain of documentation and dependent on the approval of local police chief and county sheriff. There's 21 counties and 565 municipalities. Move a mile in any direction and you need to start over again. And yeah, the other one here is Tim Carney says government infringed on his constitutional right. That seems like a good reason to get in the game. I don't recall the concealed carry part of the Constitution, but I'm sure this will all turn out swimmingly. I recall it. I recall where it is. It says, a well-regulated militia being necessary for the protection of a free state, the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Translation, the more people that have guns, the freer the state's going to be. And yes, if you are infringed on your constitutional rights, that is a great reason to go back and run for office, and I encourage everybody to do so. I really do. Let's keep going. From the New York Post, Democratic Tulsi Gabbard calls Terry McAuliffe's loss a victory for all Americans. From Callie Peterson. Based. Now, get all that stupid socialist and gun stuff out of your campaign, and you might be a worthwhile government official to vote for. But given the fact that you look at things and talk about redistribution and taking away guns from Americans, I cannot get behind you. As much as I actually enjoy you as a person, Tulsi Gabbard, I cannot get behind the idea of you being in office ever again until you clean up some of this other shit. Former Rep. Coconut Mommy broke from the party and celebrated fellow Democrat Terry McAuliffe's loss in the Virginia gubernatorial race this week, calling the outcome a victory for all Americans. Gabbard, who has criticized other members of her party, including House Speaker Pelosi in the past, appeared to accuse McAuliffe of ruining a campaign that was racially divisive. McAuliffe's loss is a victory for all Americans. Why? Because it was a resounding rejection of efforts to divide us by race, the stripping of parental rights, and arrogant, deaf leaders. This benefits us all, the former Hawaii representative and ex-presidential candidate tweeted Wednesday evening. McAuliffe conceded the election to Youngkin Wednesday morning after several outlets declared Youngkin was the winner the night before. While last night we came up short, I'm proud that we spent this campaign fighting for the values we so deeply believe in. More government! The former Virginia Democrat said, or governor rather, said in a statement noting the importance of protecting Virginia's schools and voting rights and fighting for affordable health care coverage and raising the minimum wage. While there will be setbacks along the way, I'm confident in the long-term path of Virginia is toward inclusion, openness, and tolerance for all. Yeah, it probably is, but, I mean, you spent your entire campaign being intolerant towards white parents, so I don't really want to hear tolerance for all from you guys. While there will be but yeah, thank you, Coconut Mommy, for coming back up and talking about that. I think this is a Veritas video, about a minute. Let's watch this. Illegal New Jersey gubernatorial election worker. I'll let you, non-citizen, non-registered voter, fill out completely a ballot right now. Let's have a look.
You voted in
election in January of last year?
The presidential.
And did you register?
No, I wasn't registered either.
Are you registered now?
Oh, I never filled anything out. No.
Okay, then I can't see how you can vote because you're not registered.
Remember, I do remember him.
Okay.
Remember, we was allowing anyone to come in.
We was allowing anybody to come in, and they say
Presidential. That's a presidential.
Yeah, during the agenda, they just let us.
Okay.
Non-citizens cannot vote or even register to vote. New Jersey State Code 19, subsection 4-1.
I'll let you fill out a ballot now. Whether or not it's going to be, they're going to count it, I don't know.
But I don't know if it works because I'm an
It
Irish.
does work.
But I'm an Irish citizen. I'm not.
It doesn't matter. I mean, you have some citizenship here?
With the work visa, yeah.
Listen, we'll let you do it. They'll figure that out.
New Jersey State Code 19, section 3420. Poll workers may not provide a ballot to someone not entitled to vote.
The brand new one, yeah. There's no much many.
New Jersey State Code 19, section 3411, 20, and 48. Providing a ballot to someone not entitled to vote is a crime of the third degree, punishable by up to 5 years imprisonment and up to a $15,000 fine. So, as I said, it looks like there was some honk honk in that election. And possibly some honk honk in the presidential election, although that was the freest and fairest election, and Joe Biden is the most popular president in history. 80 million votes and all and such, and honk honk, and more popular than even Barack Obama. Honk honk. So much honk honk. Alright, what else do we have? We're running out of time, I can tell you that. Democrat Virginia delegate loses election, admits he tampered with Republican campaign signs at polling place, tells cops it was just a little hijinks. From Dave Urbanski. It has not been Chris Hurst's finest week. First off, the Democrat from the Virginia House of Delegates lost his District 12 re-election bid to Republican Jason Ballard. In fact, Republicans took the House control of the House by flipping 7 seats after Democrats held a 55-45 majority. But that ain't the half of it. You see, on the eve of the election, Hearst and his girlfriend were pulled over by Radford City Police after a sheriff's deputy allegedly saw them tampering with campaign signs at a polling place, WSLS-TV reported. Police photos show campaign signs for Republican candidates such as Governor-elect Glenn Youngkin and Hearst's opponent, Delegate-elect Ballard, flipped over and on the ground, the station said. The following is a transcript from the police body cam showing the conversation between Hearst and the officer who pulled him over. And I'm not going to go through a lot of this because we are running up on the clock and there were a couple other things that I wanted to make sure that I got to off of this. But yeah, if you're a Democratic candidate and you get caught busting up or flipping over or anything else your opponent's signs, not only are you subject to the laws that go along with that, the crimes that go along with that, which could vary from minor trespass to vandalism, depending. But it also makes you look like a petty little bitch. I'm sorry. Alright. What else do I want to do? Oh, I did want to get this one here. 19-year-old running for school board trounces member who helped ruin his senior year. From Ash Shao. Nicholas Seppi, a 19-year-old high school graduate whose senior year was heavily disrupted by his school's COVID-19 policies, decided to run against one of the school board members responsible, and he won. The College Fix reported that Seppi, who graduated from Egg Harbor Township High School in New Jersey last year, defeated Terry Alabarda on the township school board by an overwhelming 17-point margin. With 100% of the precincts reporting as of Wednesday afternoon, Seppi has received 4,042 votes to Alabarda's 2,830. The outlet reported, after initially closing the doors on March 2020, Egg Harbor Township School District forced most of its students into entirely online learning for hybrid learning models with limited components of in-person instruction for most of the 2020 to 2021 year. Seppi did not respond to a request for comment from the Daily Wire, but he did tell The Fix in a statement that the school shutdowns that disrupted his senior year were awful, motivating him to run out of a desire to serve his community and even give parents a voice in the district. And now, McAuliffe ran on a platform of, your parents shouldn't have any involvement in anything that you do in the school. But you know who should have an involvement of what happens in the school? The students. Now, if we went entirely for the students' opinions, we'd have no homework ever, and pizza parties every Friday and stuff like that, with no idea of how to pay for them. But realistically, Seppi is doing the Lord's work off of this because he is there. He just got out of this. He saw what it was like firsthand, where the problems were, and he wants to go in and try to fix them. I don't know if he can, but he wants to get in there and do it. And he is as close to it as anybody else on that school board, and possibly even closer. He's closer to it than any parent has ever been. So good on this kid. Absolutely. All right. Let's talk a little bit of budget stuff here. I want to make sure that we do that. But man, we are out of time. We are right there. Well, first let's talk about Manchin. Manchin will get the last word, even as House races to pass mega bill. From Politico, from Marianne Levine and Burgess Everett. House Democrats are fighting to coalesce around their party's $1.75 trillion social spending plan, all for Senator Joe Manchin to go change it anyway. As Speaker Pelosi furiously worked to unite her caucus around a centerpiece for the party's domestic agenda, Manchin is making it clear he's not paying much attention to what the House is crafting, memorably saying Wednesday he has no idea what they're doing. So, even as the House tries to include provisions like paid leave and immigration reform, the West Virginia Democrat is operating on the presumption that the House can do what it wants and that he will too. Manchin opposes including paid leave in the bill, and the Senate's nonpartisan rules referee may scrap immigration reform before he has a chance to raise a concern. But Manchin and the parliamentarian are not the only ones who might have a say in the final product, which could result in protracted negotiations with the House. I wouldn't be surprised at all if between the parliamentarian and Joe's concerns, whatever the House sends will have to be modified at least a little, said Brian Schultz of Hawaii. It will not be enacted as it is. Everyone needs to sit with that and get comfortable with it. John Tester added that he'll be surprised if it doesn't change. Dude, this thing is not going to pass. It might pass, but it is going to be a difficult situation. And of course, Politico has to put the picture of Joe Manchin sitting here with Mitt Romney. Because he's going with the evil Republican. He's got binders full of women, don't you know? Get that dude out of the Senate. Get that dude out of the fucking Senate. But protests come off of this as well. From Fox News, Joe Manchin blockaded in his car by climate protesters who claim he tried to run them over. From Breck Dumas, a group of climate change protesters boasted about blockading Democratic West Virginia Senator Joe Manchin's car on Thursday, accusing the moderate lawmaker of trying to run them over in his attempt to drive through the parking garage. The senator has also gotten attention for the vehicle he was driving. We blockaded Joe Manchin's car and he tried to run us over, a TikTok video posted by Hungry for Climate Justice showing the confrontation states. Let's watch. We're not even going to get to the Second Amendment thing, which is lame, by the way. Get those last minute messages in if you're lurking right now, because live chat's coming up in just a couple minutes.
We blockaded Joe Manchin's car, and he tried to run us over.
Holy shit, that's irritates.
Peaceful protesters. Joe Manchin's car slowly pressing into our peaceful protesters.
Okay, so.
Oh, trust me, my dear, if he wanted to make a mess out of you in that Maserati with a W12, all you would have had to do was give it a little bit of gas and dump the clutch, and you'd be fucked. Just so you know. That W12 engine that's in there, I believe that's a Maserati with a W12. Yeah, with short hood, it's not a V12. That Maserati with a W12 is like 605 foot-pounds of torque. Just so you know. His Maserati does 185. He lost his license. Now he don't drive. Fuck, now that song is stuck in my head. Why does Joe Manchin have a Maserati, by the way? Why does a public servant have a Maserati? I have problems with that. I have big problems with that. And I typically like Joe Manchin, although I don't trust him, because I do think that this is campaign fodder for the midterms. But I typically like Joe Manchin. But why does a public servant have a Maserati? Can anybody answer me that? Well, I mean, we all know why he has a Maserati, but... They go to his home, they go to his yacht, his houseboat, which I don't know why he has any of that either, but they go to all the stuff, they protest off of there. Why can't they protest him in the Capitol? That's public property. I don't get that. Some Democrats want to repeal the SALT tax deduction cap, which they say hurts middle-class taxpayers in high-cost areas. Others say that's a tax cut for the rich. It is. From Sarah Ewell Weiss. A provision in the Trump tax plan that's been a sticking point for some dumb Democrats. Yeah, that's the Freudian slip of the century. For some Democrats, as they work to reach a deal with the $1.7 trillion social spending plan, a group of moderate lawmakers are pushing to repeal the so-called SALT deduction cap on the reconciliation package, saying no SALT, no deal. But the other Democrats are trying to slam the brakes on the idea. The state and local deduction cap, set to expire at the end of 2025, limits the amount of state and local taxes that the taxpayer can deduct from their federal taxes to $10,000. This hits taxpayers in high tax and predominantly Democratic coastal states harder. But as Democrats from those areas work to lift the cap, others say doing so would be a tax cut for the rich. No shit. Of course. Is a tax cut for the rich, which is why they're trying to get rid of it. Because they want to tax cut the rich. And that's the fun part of this is, you know, we hear the Biden admin and all these senators and representatives out there say, well, we're going to tax if you make less than $400,000 or $200,000 as an individual, we're not going to tax you anymore. If you make more than that, then you're not going to pay a single cent in more taxes. I need more fingers to cross. You're not going to pay a single cent in more taxes here. Meanwhile, your Democratic colleagues are rushing to drop the taxes on the people who earn more than $400,000 a year. Because you're making considerably more than that if your federal taxes are $10,000. But then they can come back and, you know, they still have to pay the federal taxes, but they can write off all their state taxes. And these are usually in high state tax areas like San Francisco and the rest of California and New York and Illinois, where they have to have massive taxes to pay for their massive spending plans. But oh no, we can write that up. Oh no, all the poor people can pay all the state taxes. That's what we have poor people for. Can we do one more? Can we do one more? Oh, by the way, gas prices are sky high and Bank of America warns $120 a barrel oil is on the way. From Matt Egan. Everyday Americans are getting hammered by high prices at the pump, and Bank of America thinks that the pain may just be getting started. Gas prices have surged to a 7-year high of $3.40 a gallon nationally and are flirting with $4 in Nevada, Washington State, and Oregon. Bank of America is now predicting that Brent crude, which drives gas prices, will zoom to $120 a barrel by June 2022. That's 45% higher than the current levels. It's very easy for prices to shoot up when demand conditions are tight, like they are now, Francisco Blanch, Bank of America's head of global commodities, told CNN. Blanch has been an outspoken oil bull, predicting that in June that crude could eventually surge to $100 a barrel. Back then, people thought we were crazy. Now here we are, Blanch said. We're generally still quite bullish. Others are more cautious. Pierre Breber, the chief financial officer at Chevron, told CNN last week that oil prices are unlikely to stay elevated for long. Well, yeah, once it gets to summer and people stop using heating oil, then yeah, they will go down, but no, that's not how this works, you guys. $120 a barrel, I could see that. Especially with this coming off here. Brian Lefebvre says, I see YMI Scoop. The Biden admin is gathering data on whether shutting down the Line 5 oil pipeline in Michigan would actually lead to fuel price shocks in the region, according to people familiar with the administration effort. Spoiler alert! Crude awakening on Line 5. Sources tell Politico's Ben Lefebvre that the White House is doing a deep data dive on understanding how potentially shutting down Enbridge's Line 5 pipeline would impact fuel prices in and around Michigan. Revoking the pipeline's permits would please environmentalists, and Gretchen Whitmer, citing environmental concerns, the Democrats campaigned on a promise to shut down the pipeline that delivers crude, light synthetic crude, and natural gas liquids from Alberta to Ontario through Wisconsin, the Great Lakes, and Michigan. The issue landed at the White House after Canada's decision to invoke the 77 Pipeline Transit Treaty a month ago to ensure the continued operation of the 68-year-old pipeline. And then, of course, we have to transport it, by truck or by rail if we're going to be using anything out of Canada, and get everything through the border through customs every time, putting a stop on time. It's the same thing when it comes out of Alaska by truck and by rail. It's got to stop at customs every time on the border, whereas they can send it through the pipeline, turn on the spigot, and go. Just like this one. They've got to do it by truck and by rail, whereas they could just turn on the spigot and go and not run any additional fuel. Just, well, a considerable amount, but still additional electricity to keep it pumping and flowing. Are these people stupid? Are these people stupid? No, that's a legitimate question. Are these people fucking stupid? Spoiler alert! If they shut this thing down, you're going to see your gas go up. And it's not just going to be in Canada where they're getting the oil, because the oil that's in this pipeline originates in Canada and it ends in Canada, but it does have to pass through our country to do so. But regardless of that, Canada will also be dependent on oil that's coming out of the Keystone Pipeline, putting an extra squeeze on that, plus the rail and everything else to get it across there, and the prices will be reflected on our end as well. I don't understand. If these people, if they're legitimately stupid or they're evil. Or both. I'm doing this one because I've been wanting to get it for a while. She's a plant because she says all the right things all a little bit too perfectly, but I've been trying to get to this one since Monday. From Amanda Prestigiacomo at the Daily Wire, Marjorie Taylor Greene racks up $48,000 in fines for mask mandates, issues statement. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene of Georgia has racked up nearly $50,000 in fines for not complying with the House Chamber's mask mandate. According to the House Ethics Committee, Greene has been fined at least 7 times for refusing to comply with the mask mandate. She has documented nearly 24 times for bucking the mandate, said a letter dated October 28th from the House Sergeant-at-Arms William Walker, the Washington Examiner reported. You've been observed not wearing a mask on July 29th, August 2nd, September 20th, 21st, 23rd, 24th, 27th, 28th, 29th, 30th, and October 1st, 12th, 19th, 20th, 21st, 22nd, 25th, 26th, 27th. and have been asked by a member of my staff to wear a mask while in the hall of the House of the Representatives on each occasion, unless recognized to speak by the chair, wrote Walker. Green, however, remains adamant that she will not comply with the mask mandate. I will continue to stand on the House floor against authoritarian Democrat mandates because I don't want the American people to stand alone, the Republican said in a statement on Monday. Green also on Monday accused the rulemakers of inconsistency on when masks are required. Democrat members don't wear masks in the members' gym when they work out. None of us do and no one should, she stated. Why do I get fined for not wearing a mask when I'm sitting in a chair on the House floor, the same people eating unmasked at a restaurant? Well, I mean, good on her for not wearing the mask, but yeah, once again, a lot of this is probably just saying the right thing at the right time, and the mask is for show on the House floor anyway. Everybody knows it. But that's what we have off here. Okay, we're out of time. We got to do live chat. We are out of time. We got as much done as we could, but, you know, timing is everything. So we will come up to the top and just see how far we lost off of this. Actually, I think we're doing good right now. Yep. Seawall disables the deleted libertarian subroutines, uploads and enables authoritarian subroutines. I think he's making fun of my my computer program intro screen. Chilaga is here. Morning, boys. Ron Helton says expand Second Amendment rights. I think you mean attempt to restore Second Amendment rights. Yeah, that's reasonable. Luke Wee says, good morning all. Happy day for me. Today is the last day of the season. Yep, asphalt season is over. You can come down here and there's still asphalt season. You can come down here and do some construction work. I know we talked about that a little bit off mic before. Let me know if you want to come down here and do some stuff. All right, on Monday, we had Quest Fanning, Ron Helton, Random Randy. Ben Wild came back. I haven't seen Ben Wild for a while. Arvolt 24 was here. MK Ultra. Spartan 0000, Superior 1, Nephilim Ninja of Nibiru. Chilaga 1984 and Katie Zed were up here. I think it'd be cool if MK Ultra wound up being the first in-house guest, which means I actually have to set up an in-house studio stand. But there are a few people that are going to be around here soon that could possibly do an in-house guest spot. I know Saint is looking at moving up here. I got to talk to him a bit about what's going on with that because I might have something lined up for him as well, but we'll see what happens with that. On Tuesday, we had Ron Helton, Quest Fanning. Arvolt 24, Highleaf 11 came in, asked if I got to any of his articles, and I didn't because my plate was full that day already. And it has been full to the top with the big Rittenhouse case news. I lost my train of thought there for a second. Yeah, we spent a lot of time on that, so that's what we have going off of there. We also had Chilaga 1984, Random Randy, Nephilim Ninja of Nibiru, MK Ultra, and Katie Zed. On Wednesday, we had Quest Fanning, Ron Helton, Random Randy, Arvolt 24, Katie Zed, Chilaga 1984, MK Ultra 3330, and Mad Cow Mark joined us from the other side of the world. Again, welcome back, Mad Cow Mark. Yesterday, we had Ron Helton, Rain Jax, who followed us a couple days ago, chatted for the first time. Thank you, Rain Jax, for that. Quest Fanning, Marie Maybe Golay was here. Analysis, please. Asked if I ever check and read the live chat, but horribly misspelled. I do, but I don't react to it on air right off the bat, unless there's something egregious or something I need to come in and take care of. Ben Wild was here, MK Ultra 3330, Random Randy, Arvolt 24, Katie Zed, Crimson, who was not very happy with us and called us all stupid right-wingers, even though I think the vast majority of people that come into this chat are not right-wing. There are a few of you, but the vast majority of you are not. And Mary Belle Delphine, who had just come out of Washington, D.C. from sniffing AOC's congressional seat. Dude, even I don't go that far, and I've got a fake crush on AOC. My future wife. Let's continue where we left off in the live chat today. Luke Wee says, paving season and construction season. No, that's still in full force over here. But enjoy your winter, Luke Wee. Ron Helt says, the vaccine is so damn necessary that we wait till January to impose the mandate to take it. Can't make this crap up. Just proves this is all about the money. Luke Wee says it's going to be a great winter off. Ron Helt says we have to make sure that the big guy gets his cut of the action. Let's go, Brandon. Now Grandma will die from lack of care when all those workers start quitting. You don't hear anything about natural immunity. Yeah, well, Congress can put a stop to this BS when they need to get off their asses. And then Ron Helton again says if they keep pushing mandates and destroy people's livelihoods, there will be pop control. People will be homeless and starving and die. Yes. Katie Zed says, good morning, people. Nephilim Ninja of Nibiru is here. Good morning. Quest Banning is here. Good morning. Randy says, hello, hello. Quest Banning says, 1, 2, 4, 5. I've been counting these rocks. Bihach. I'm thinking it's more like $50 a dose. That would be reasonable. That would be a reasonable number for a dosage of a vaccine. By materials and by size, that would definitely be reasonable. And administering costs money too. Yep. Katie says we're all a little retarded. I'm kind of retarded. Randy Crush Saga says, like I said, the Mandate and Wartime Production Act that should be used to force Big Pharma to make and provide the jab for free. By the way, I do want to see, given the fact that I said the R word numerous times, if I am still on YouTube. Amazingly. I am still on YouTube. I don't know how. Quest Fanning threw an ice cream over at the D-Live side. Thank you for that. What else do we have here? Ron says the testing is pointless now. You either have symptoms or you don't. Testing does not prevent the spread. It's all about the money. Randy says Amazon's about to have their worst customer service since their inception. Yeah, I actually like Amazon customer service. In spite of the fact that you usually get somebody from South Africa to do your customer service, every time I have called Amazon customer service, I have had a very pleasant experience. Aside from the time zone and the language barrier, I have always had a pleasant experience with Amazon customer service. Randy says OSHA already had a year backlog on reported violations. Unless they're hiring thousands of inspectors, it won't amount to much. He also says you're the only commentators that I've heard make the OSHA staffing point. Yeah, that's one of the things to point out is there are only like 800 OSHA workers for the entire country for 16,000 businesses over 100 employees. What else do we have here? Ron Helton says, OSHA will be visiting a business in the city. They had a fatality. That's about the only time you see them. One of my jobs was filling out OSHA safety forms over a year ago. Or years ago, rather. Randy says the overwhelming majority of deaths also are false positives. An 18-year-old fell into an asphalt bin at 325 degrees and he died of COVID. Ron says, discriminate those coofs, that's is racist. They all count in the grand scheme of fear-mongering. I've extended family members who have lost weight to stay healthier now. Good. Good, good, good. Ron says, don't worry, hungry people will be shooting and eating them soon. The deer, that is. I assume you meant the deer, not the politicians, although it's Ron Helton, so that could go either way. Apparently only one of them was friendly. Ron Helton says, where the deer and the antelope play. I like that. That was good. Arvolt. Reminded me it was McGinnis that gave the testimony. Thank you, Arvolt. Best part of yesterday's testimony was when the prosecution asked McGinnis, you don't know what Rosenbaum was thinking, do you? McGinnis answers, well, he yelled, fuck you, and grabbed the gun. So, thank you, Katie Zed. Quest says, I do feel sorry for Rosenbaum, having experienced abuse as a child. Katie Zed's the other part of interesting part of yesterday's testimony was that it came out that Rosenbaum had threatened Kyle earlier in the night. Yeah, we talked about that. Ron says Kyle had no choice but to leave the area. The mob was dangerous. Katie says, I think Zeminski has charges. Am I wrong about that? I don't know. I can look into that later on today. But I don't know. Let's actually look here. Josh Zeminski. Yes, apparently he was arrested on January 26th. Fuck you, Kenosha News. Let's see if I can archive this quick. Or if it's already been archived. I'm sure it's already been archived. It's from January 26th. No, it's never been archived. No, it was. This was last archived 9 months ago. Man facing charges for firing gun in air before Rittenhouse shootings, now charged with arson. So, he's not charged with the firing of the gun in the air, but he is charged with arson, it looks like, according to the Kenosha News, from January 26th. And the female Zeminski yelling, "Get him," didn't help the situation either. Quest says, aren't you already age restricted? Curses and all. And I did see that Quest also pointed out the fact that I am age restricted on Leibt. That is by default because I discuss things of a political nature. That is by default that I'm age restricted and I'm X tagged for mature audiences only. YouTube, the age restriction is a little bit different, and basically what that means is I'm not searchable to people unless they're signed in to their Google account. And I'm barely discoverable on YouTube because of that as well. Quest says, in the year 3000. Ron says the trial should have never happened. All political attempt to keep burn, loot, murder mob from burning down the state. Chilaga says, looking forward to hearing your report later on the D. Is that the DI? Oh, the Daily Ignoramus. Okay. Yeah, because I can't do headphones at work anymore. I guess I didn't realize that you were on the Daily Ignoramus doing reporting. Fanning says, the Chauvin conviction seems skewed, but if Kyle loses, this trial will be clear you have no chance of a fair trial. Yeah, that's true. Ron says, doesn't matter. That Rosen shit didn't hurt anybody. The moron was trying to take another person's weapon. He got what he wanted. Quest says, you're on your own. You need to cover up anything you've done in self-defense if you cannot get a fair trial. Ron says, see, even I can give a future cop or a cop the right to defend themselves. I just think they're bagmen. That they need to quit their jobs. Katie Z says, I've been watching every day but didn't start taking notes until yesterday. So on my coach coverage, we'll be lacking for the first 3 days. Katie also wants to hang out with juror number 7. Shilag says, I haven't watched a minute of the trial except for clips from here. Arvolt says, I wouldn't last 10 minutes as a juror. I'd be making jokes about both sides. Yeah, there's no way they would let any of us on the jury. I have jury duty coming up, and I'm pretty sure that they're going to look at me and they're going to say, okay, you're done. Oh, your skin is that pale color? You're done. Especially in Rock County. Arvolt says, why did Jacob Blake have a knife when getting into the car? He wanted to cut and run. Oh, Arvolt, I can't do that one. Quest says, Trucker Ed. Awesome. Quest says, how are we going to work "so it is written" into the Rittenhouse trial? Quest says, New Jersey touches Pennsylvania inappropriately. You were bringing up ratings earlier? I don't know what you mean by ratings, but on rating in the upper right, DLive says podcast mature tag. Yeah, that's a default for DLive. I can't turn that off. because I discuss things of a political nature. But on YouTube, it affects my discovery. On DLive, it doesn't so much affect my discovery, but on YouTube, it affects my discovery, my ability to be discovered. Add the honking honky, this thing on. Arvold says, no one respond. Let's see how long Quest goes. Quest says, this is nothing out of the ordinary. In political campaigns, often the same folks you pay to put up signs will be sent out to tear out your opponents. Yeah, it still seems a little bit petty. Fanning's got the emojis, the dancing people. This is the form of youth engagement should take, not effectively lowering the voting age. True. Ron Helt says those morons need to be locked up. They have zero right to impede his movement. Hell, it is illegal for cops to impede a congressman's movement when Congress is in session. Arvold says, yes, they are legitimately stupid. Quest Fanning says, crude awakening. Let's see. Quest says, both. Yeah, both. Ron says they're evil. Every time a demon rat gets into office, they mess with fossil fuels and drive up the prices. It's an unethical mandate. How do they square that peg? Because it's Nancy Pelosi and she does whatever the fuck she wants. That's how they square that peg. They don't have to square the peg. They just do whatever the hell they want. And Quest Fanning will get final word and says, OSHA is easily and cheaply bribed, or so I've heard. Yeah, they're federal workers. They're overworked. They have to mandate business, many more businesses than they have people to go back and cover. And they do it for like 60 grand a year. They're not expensive to bribe. Not that I've ever tried this, but I could probably bribe an OSHA agent by bringing him out for a beer if I really needed to. But that's all that we have here. Let's get out of here. Because I need to get something to eat. I'm starving and I've got to go to work. Let's change up the track. Do some outro-y stuff. I like outro-y stuff. I like being here, but I like outro-y stuff too. I like being here, but I like finishing up as well, because there's a lot of work that goes into this. And if I had to get through all the rest of these articles too, I mean, we'd be here. This would be a daily ignoramus length show. Easily. All right, but we are going to head out of here for today. Hopefully on Monday we can catch up with some of the other stuff that we weren't able to get to today. Because I don't have the work restriction afterward. I just don't want to cut too far into the daily ignoramus. But stick around if you can for that coming up here on Monday for more contemporary. I am not going anywhere this weekend, so we'll do a game stream. Maybe we'll do a call-in show too on Saturday too. So look around and wait for that. That'll be kind of fun if we can do some gaming, some fun stuff here. Do some more Fallout 4. That's I'm having a lot of fun with that. I'm actually having a lot of fun playing that on stream too. Now that I even know a little bit of how that game works, whereas when I played the other character, I went in completely blind. But stick around and look for that. That'll be a lot of fun here. Otherwise, come back and join us on Monday. Or even on Sunday too. I might do another food stream. I've streamed every day for 3 weeks straight at this point, just so you guys know. So we might throw together a nice little food stream for whatever I make for dinner coming up here on this coming Sunday. So definitely look forward to that. Otherwise, Monday, more contemporary, same time, hopefully earlier. Hopefully I get over this oversleeping thing from going back to the gym this past week. But we'll be back here on Monday for more contemporary. And Monday night for the Red Net Show featuring the wonderful Quest Fanning. Thank you for coming in and hanging out with us for that. That's always going to be a good conversation. Come back and hang out with us and talk about the news, which is mostly going to be the elections, the Rittenhouse thing. Definitely looking forward to that and having some discussions with this rather than just me talking to a microphone about it. So I definitely want to do some of that here. And remember, we do take live chat in between topics on that show as well. So come back and join us for that. Otherwise, we will see you the next time you guys come and view. And until then, I am Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Take care.